Hey guys, long time no talk. I posted that random video last time, or my last video was kind of random because I found that footage like on my computer. I'd completely forgotten that I'd even recorded that video. But I'm back now, hopefully. It is summer, so school will no longer be an issue. Scheduling will no longer be an issue. I have pretty much all day film, so I have no more excuses. Here today, we are back with a very exciting video. This is something that I've done before, but I needed desperately to do an updated one. It is my top 10 horror movies, and this takes me months to prepare, or this one at least took me months to prepare. The other one I kind of put together haphazardly, like, yeah, I guess that one's a favorite. This one I actually took hella long time to think about. Some could probably go here or there, but some of these I'm very attached to. Some of these will be the same as they were on the last time I filmed this video because they're constant. They're always going to be my favorites. But like I said in my last top 10 favorite horror movies video, this is ever changing. There are some that stay pretty constant, but some change around a little bit because, as we know, new horror movies are being released every single year, so it can change. I tried to not include too many newer horror films, but it was kind of hard because there have been some really fabulous horror films that have come out recently in the past couple of years. So there are some current ones, some oldies, some goodies, things like that, so let's get started. These are not in any order. I could not do that. That would take probably another 6 months for me to organize these into a 1 through 10. The first few are obviously going to be ones that are some of my tops because they were really easy to just jot down. I'm like, okay, yeah, that one, that one, that one. The ones towards the end were a little bit harder. I had to think about some more, so that kind of gives you a gauge as to if you wanted a spectrum of favorite to least favorite. The ones that I'm going to list first are at the top of the list, therefore they were the first ones I wrote down. First ones that came out of my brain. Number 1, Blair Witch Project. Now this one was not a favorite and was never a favorite up until probably in the last year or so, when I rewatched it, and I had this whole new appreciation for this movie. Really original for its time and very subtle. You guys know I love subtle horror, where it's more of an unsettling feeling versus in-your-face horror. A lot of these are going to be supernatural ones because they are my favorite. I have 0 slasher films on this one, so... Number 2, The Village, and this one actually is not one of my top in this list. I can say it should be towards the bottom, but I had recently watched it when I was forming this list, and so that's why it's number 2, like, written down. The reason why that one's on there is because it's one of M. Night Shyamalan's, like, best films. He is very known for the twists, and the twist in this film particularly was unbelievable. Like, this again is one of those subtle ones, and it ends up being completely not what you think it is. It's not technically really horror. It's not something that's going to horrify you. It's going to be a great starter to a horror movie noob, if you will. In fact, I get that question asked a lot of what kind of film should I start with if I'm just getting into horror. So this is a great example of one of those films. If you want a whole video on like the top 10 movies to get you started into horror that aren't necessarily straight up horror but are a little bit more subtle, a little like ease you into it, more thriller kind of movies, let me know. Number 3 is The Ring, and this has been my favorite horror movie of all time for years and years and years because it is to this day still the most horrifying movie I've ever seen. Not disturbing, not the most disturbing, but the most scary. But it's something that still affects me. Now I'm a little bit more intrigued by it. Like, there are certain scenes with the face and stuff like that where I used to not be able to watch at all. Now I'm like kind of obsessed with it in a way. So there's just something about this movie. It's just the feeling, the music, the images. It is gorgeous. I love this film. Number 4 is The Thing, John Carpenter's version of it. And the reason why it's John Carpenter's version is because of the real effects in it. I love real effects. I love when movies will use them. And this movie is unbelievable for its time, being in the 80s. I love alien films. This is one that, okay, so for me, most alien films end up not being horrific or horrifying or whatever, but this one was scary. Like, there were disturbing moments in it, and so that is why it's on here. It's a little bit sci-fi horror, and I'm not really into sci-fi horror, which is weird because there's another one on here that's a little like that. Number 5 is Mama, and this is very similar to The Ring for me. The, you know, creepy woman kind of thing. and the images and the feeling of it is very similar to me. So as soon as I saw Mama for the first time, I fell in love. I'm pretty sure I saw it in theaters twice, and I've seen it, you know, I own it on DVD and I've seen it so many times since. It's just such a good movie. Number 6 is Alien. I'm gonna say the whole trilogy because I cannot pick just one of them. Actually, if I did pick any of them, it'd be Aliens 3 Cubed. That one, love it. But I love the Alien series or trilogy. It's, again, just one of those classic sci-fi horrors, and it's just so well done and it's so creepy. Next one is Honeymoon. Ironic because that was the last video I just reviewed. So any video or any movies that I list here that I've reviewed, I will list all of them down below. I'm pretty sure I've reviewed most of them. Honeymoon is obviously a newer film. I just reviewed it, so it's something that is new to me, but I have seen it twice, and it is one of my favorite movies of all time now because of the subtle horror, supernatural feeling to it. And like I said in my review, it's mostly unsettling. It's not really anything horrifying, it's unsettling, and that is my favorite feeling when I'm watching a horror movie. Next up we have The Babadook. Very similar to every other thing on this list. You might see a pattern here. Very supernatural, subtle, creep factors, less gore. The Babadook is, again, something new to me. I think I saw it last year sometime. As soon as I finished watching it, I was like, that movie is one of the best movies because the horror factor to it was so awesome and original, and the whole idea was genius, and oh my gosh. If you haven't seen it, what are you doing? You need to watch it. Down to the last two, guys. So number 9 is Tusk, and this one is one that's a little bit weird to be on this list to me. When I look at this list, that's the one that stands out to me as like a little off, but I can't deny that I loved that movie so much, and it disturbed me so much the first time I watched it that I had to add it to this list because it affected me so much, and the acting in it was probably the best acting from this list, hands down. Johnny Depp in that movie, I didn't even know it was him. It was just genius, so I had to add it for that reason. It didn't carry over to home viewing. The disturbing nature of it was definitely more of a theater experience and one-timer. So like after you've seen it once, the disturbing factor is kind of gone when you watch it again. But I still love this movie. I have watched it multiple times, and it has to be one of my favorites. And lastly, The Woman in Black. This is just a classic horror ghost story. Like, that's why I love it, because it's so pure. This is a ghost story, and it's still original, and it's still interesting. It's nothing too cliche. It's a little cliche sometimes at being just like a ghost story, but like there's something to it. I think it's the imagery and like the cinematography and the artistic nature of it that I am really drawn to, and you know, Jen Radcliffe. But there's very little dialogue in that, and I think that's what makes it original, is that hardly anyone speaks, and it's just like, it's a beautiful movie. It's one of those that you have to say is so beautiful. That was my top 10 movie list for horror. If you're interested, I will be filming a top 10 non-horror movie list over on my main channel, because I get that question all the time. What other movies do you like besides horror? Geez. So I will be answering that question over on my main channel. Once that's posted, I will link it down below, but it will be a little while. Let me know what your top 10 lists are of horror movies, and maybe I'll check them out. I definitely need some more movies to review, so just put your favorites down below, and I'll have a look at them and see if maybe I see one and I'm like, oh my god, how could I have left that off my list? But feel free to share it down below. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Tell me what's going on!
Something bad happened to me. Something bad happened to me in the woods.